We're down here in not so sunny Poole at Sunseeker's sprawling headquarters, and we're here to test the new 68 Sport Yacht. Now this is an unusual hybrid boat. It's halfway between a flybridge boat and a sports cruiser. So the idea is you get the sleek looks of a sports cruiser and the chance for a couple of extra sunroofs here, and a slightly smaller flybridge but still a fairly sizable one on a boat this size. So it gives you, in theory, the best of both worlds. Over the last few years, these sort of genre of boats, these mainstream flybridge boats and sports cruisers have changed quite a lot, and there's more and more pressure to provide better and better accommodation, and the consequence of that is that boats have become bigger and heavier, taller, whatever, and as a byproduct sometimes the handling and performance can suffer. So the great thing about this boat, much to my amazement, is that just isn't true in this case. This boat has the handling of and the agility of a 45-footer. It's quite extraordinary to drive. Really feels like a lot of fun, very agile, very manoeuvrable, very controllable. No problem driving through meter swell that we had out there today. Nice soft ride. Really is fantastic to find a boat packed with accommodation which still drives through the water really, really well. With the standard issue 1280 horsepower engines that this boat is fitted with, we got a good 33 knots on a two-way run in quite blustery, choppy conditions. So that's a good performance. And of course, with that sort of performance, you like to be able to see where you're going on a boat like this. And the good news is that you can, even sat back, guy my height, sat back in the seat, the horizon remains in clear view all the time. And the boat does trim up by the nose, as all planing boats do, but never even remotely enough to get in the way at all. So there is a bit of an intrusion from this big mullion here, as you would expect on a sports cruiser with a heavily raked windscreen, but really it never impedes the view too much, and the view out is good and safe at all times. Okay, we're on a 68-footer, so an awful lot of boats around this size are going to have cracking owners' cabins amidship, which of course is much further aft than here. The special bit on this boat is the VIP cabin. Now ostensibly this is a normal VIP cabin, but further behind me there's quite a lot of trickery going on with the doors here, which makes it a little bit special. So what we have here is access to the heads compartment for both cabins, the VIP cabin and the twin cabin aft. But if you want real extra space in this cabin, you shut this secondary door and all this extra corridor space is absorbed into the cabin, and it really does make the cabin feel an awful lot bigger and a bit special. As you can see, there's a bit more door trickery going on here as well. I think we have to face the fact that even on these really big sports cruisers or sports bridge, whatever you want to call them, the fact is that an awful lot of them will be used as day boats or weekenders, so there won't be perhaps that much cooking going on. So it makes an awful lot of sense to be able to hive off the galley and keep it private. So these doors, I think, are a nice extra feature. As you can see down here in the engine room, even with these biggest engines in here, the 1280 MTUs, absolutely acres of space around the engines for good service access. I quite like Sunseeker's approach to construction, the way they build their boats. They're not absolutely focused or manic about using one particular type of construction, like resin infusion, for instance. So they do resin infuse some of their boats, but not all of them. As it happens, this boat is conventionally constructed, hand laid up, big internal stiffening structure, and it was really noticeable when we were driving out through the lumpy stuff, even the sort of worst lumps and bumps, that there was no sense of the boat twisting, or no, torsional rigidity was really good. No sense of creaks and groans. And in fact, the loudest sound, because the engines are quite muted, in fact, the loudest sound was the sound of the crockery and cutlery, which is only a few feet down there in the galley, sort of rattling around, and some of the empty freezer things rattling around as well. But otherwise, this is actually quite a serene boat inside the saloon anyway. Like all good mainstream cruisers around this size, there are things about this boat which subjectively or objectively you may or may not like or want to change, but The really outstanding thing about this boat is its handling, and this is a 68-foot boat with lots of accommodation. That is a huge amount of fun to drive, and I think in these days with accommodation making boats bigger and fatter and more corpulent, I think that's really quite an achievement.